How's it going, my evil residents? Today I'm going to take a look at all of your hot takes considering the Resident Evil 3 remake, and I'm going to rank them on this handy dandy little arbitrary ranking bar that I created based off of the Resident Evil 5 grenade launcher rounds. From coldest to hottest, we have nitrogen rounds, self-explanatory, flash rounds where it stunned me a little bit, but generally I'm okay. Electric rounds, this one shocked me, but it doesn't cause any long-lasting damage. Explosive rounds, run-of-the-mill hot take. Flame rounds, this one's a little spicy, this one's cooking my skin a little bit. And then acid rounds, this one is boiling all of my skin off. That is how hot your take is. It is literally acid. I'm going to place everyone's hot takes on this gauge right here, and yeah, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into the video. First up, one of my malevolent residents, King of Horror. All members automatically get put into the hot take videos. If you want your hot take put in the video, become a member. It's only $1. King of Horror says, Remake, Rem3 Key, is a C-tier game due to how hacked and rushed it was, and it features the worst version of Jill ever. It's a huge shame that the version of Jill has seemingly been carried forward into the future with Death Island, erasing over her far superior RE5 iteration. I have a few thoughts about this. I might make this its own video. First off, this game was not hacked or rushed. I'm pretty sure the design document was published online or something like that. I think Ink Ribbon has a video about this, if I'm remembering right. If I am, I'll put the link to that video in the comments. Or not the comments, I'll put it in the description. Or the comments, whichever one I feel like. Check both places. They completely planned for the game to be as it is, made the game like that, and then published the game like that. There was no rush development. There was no unintended thing of features or things removed due to crunch. They didn't rush it. They released it when they wanted to, and they released what they wanted to. That is a huge rumor that goes around that is just not true at all. So are you spreading misinformation on the internet, LMAO? As for the different versions of Jill, I'm someone that likes the new version of Jill. I don't think they're that different. I think the previous Jill was more inconsistent than modern Jill is. Yeah, modern Jill has literally 2 appearances, but in RE5 and original RE3 and original RE1, she acts pretty different in all 3 games. And the Revelations 1, she's a little more bland than she is in literally all 3 of those games. So she acts different in literally every game that she's been in. So when people say this, I don't know which Jill they're talking about, because you get RE1 Jill, which is very self-assured, but still like terrified and nervous. And then you get Resident Evil 3 Jill, which is just in constant badass Sarah Connor mode. And she's literally slapping people out of their shock. That's how badass she is. And then you get RE5 Jill, who, yeah, is brainwashed for most of the game. And then she becomes super nice, super caring, almost like motherly type of the mom friend, if you will. She's the mom friend in Resident Evil 5. And she's just different in literally every game. So when people say this criticism about new Jill, she's consistent with Resident Evil 3 Jill, the original. I feel like people are saying this and comparing her to Resident Evil 5 Jill, and that's literally 11 years later. She has plenty of time to change. I know with Death Island taking place after Resident Evil 5, I kind of get it. It does feel like a different person, but she's played by a completely different person. It's not gonna feel exactly the same. Capcom has never been consistent with this. People take such huge issue with it with Jill specifically, and I don't get that, because Chris is the same way, Leon is the same way, but they act different in a bunch of different games depending on who plays them. As far as if this is a hot take or not, I'm gonna put this in nitrogen rounds. I hear literally this exact paragraph all the time on the internet. If I had a nickel for every time I read a paragraph like this, I would not monetize my videos. Next up, from one of my harmless residents, Max the Noodle, I should have given more references from the OG, like when Jill shoves the laser beam in Nemesis's mouth, she should have said, "Do you want stars? I'll give you stars." 100% agree. I do think they should have copy-pasted more dialogue, as much as I'm more for like, no, if you're remaking something, remake it completely. The dialogue in the original Resident Evil 3, some of it is just so good, just copy-paste it. I don't care, it's a remake. It doesn't matter. But specifically, the "Do you want stars? I'll give you stars" line causes me pain, because it's such a badass line. And they just kind of throw it randomly at the beginning of a chase half hour into the game. It's like, what? It's like, "You want stars? I'll give you stars." And then she runs away. It's like, are you kidding me? Capcom, why'd you put it there? She gave such a good line reading for it, and you just put it like right before she literally runs away from Nemesis. You didn't like put it at the end of the game where it goes. Sphere Hunter in her Resident Evil 3 remake video edits the line in at the end where the railgun is. I'm assuming that's why you are referencing this, because I feel like most Resident Evil fans have seen that video. It's just, yeah, I don't know. This is not a hot take though, unfortunately. I hear this a lot, but I hear this less than I hear the previous one, so I'm going to put this in flash rounds tier. Next up from Maya, Jill is not very good at driving cars. They're supposed to stay on the ground, not fly through the air, and also you shouldn't hit people with them. On a real one though, I feel like this game is way too action shooter than horror or sad face. So many stupid moments where you're just like, yeah right, okay whatever. Because Jill had decided to drive a car off a roof and survive Lamau. Yeah, Jill has so much plot armor in this game that it literally inspired my plot armor series. Go check that out if you haven't. The Resident Evil 3 plot armor video is not that good, but all the other ones are pretty good. So go check those out. They are a lot of effort to make, and I would appreciate a view and a like on this. As for Jill not being very good at driving cars, if you have a choice, like if you're hanging out with Jill and Leon and both of them offer to drive you home, just walk home. Like just walk home. You're not getting home safe with either of these two behind the wheel. I swear. I understand the action horror angle of what you're saying, but the original is like that, so I don't mind. I think the difference is the game isn't scary enough or action B movie enough. It's just normal action movie. Whereas when I think Resident Evil does action, it needs to go into action B movie range to be memorable and more Resident Evil-y, if that makes sense. Or B movie horror or B movie action. It just goes normal action. So I kind of get what you mean with that. If that's not what you meant, feel free to leave another comment, or don't. You don't have to. I'm not your mom. As for how hot of a take this is, I'm actually going to put this in electric rounds because I don't hear this very often, but I do hear it sometimes, and that's literally the definition of the electric rounds tier, so that's right. Next up from EP Girly. This game is too easy on an Inferno mode and the dodge tool is overrated. I like the dodge. I don't think it's overrated. I think it's not talked about enough because people are like, oh, the parry system in Resident Evil 4 Remake is so cool and epic. It's like the dodge is way more satisfying and way more fun. At least I think so. And I say that as someone that really likes the parry mechanic with the knife. But I don't say it's overrated. It is very well liked, but I'm not. Oh, I don't know where to rank this one. I'll rank it based off of the too easy on Inferno mode. I kind of agree. Because if you're doing it without bonus items, it is hard. It's not as hard as Village of Shadows with no bonus items, not as hard as Professional with no bonus items, but it is hard. So, and I would say Resident Evil 4 Remake is about the perfect level of difficulty for like a professional-ish mode. So I'm tempted to agree, but I only ever hear people bitch and moan and complain about how hard Inferno mode is because they get stun locked by Nemesis. And it's like, if you dodge him once, you get the timing down, and you can just dodge him the whole time. And it's very easy, and you get a free shot. It's not that hard. Just get good. I'm gonna put this one, I've been going in order this whole time. I just realized that. I'm gonna skip one. I'm gonna put this in Flame Rounds tier. Next up from Gordon Freeman, the real Gordon Freeman. Yeah, the one from Half-Life 1 and 2. RE3 Remake is a good remake, better than RE2R, but worse than RE4R. Only bad thing it did was that it was short. Find it better than OG RE3 2. Nail on the fucking head. Gordon Freeman hit the nail on the head right here. It is a good remake. People are like, this remake sucks, it's so short, it cut so much content. It cut one area and a couple weapons. RE2R is completely differently structured, and the B scenarios are worse, and they cut a whole game mechanic. But yeah, RE2 Remake is the better remake, of course it is. Yeah. Now it's along in agreement with the Redditors. I don't understand why people say this. It makes no sense to me. RE3 Remake is a very faithful remake that just cuts like one area, whereas Resident Evil 2 Remake cuts the same amount of area and a whole game mechanic, and the B scenarios are basically not B scenarios. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand this criticism at all. It feels a little bit more shrunk down because they added a few more cutscenes, but the game is literally exactly the same length as the OG RE3, maybe a little bit shorter, like a tiny bit shorter. So I don't understand this criticism of it being short because the original game is short. If you remake a short game, guess what? The game's going to be short. We remade Resident Evil 4, one of the longest Resident Evil games, and guess what? Resident Evil 4 Remake is one of the longest remakes. Yay! Wow, that's so surprising. Anyways, I'll get off my high horse here. I'm basically just repeating what Gordon Freeman said. I'm putting this in Acid Rounds tier. I never hear anyone say this, except I've heard maybe two people say it, and one of those people is another comment, specifically when I made this post for the post of this video. So yeah, I don't know what you guys are smoking. I want some, but also you guys are crazy. I don't know where people get this, that it's like a bad remake. It's a good remake. It's a good remake. Next from Skylad31, the game is fun, but only when speedrunning. This game is really freaking fun to speedrun. I don't agree with you because I think the game is fun when you're not speedrunning. It does get a little boring, I will admit. It's not my most replayed Resident Evil game when I'm not speedrunning. I did speedrun this one for a little bit. I do think the first playthrough for this one is definitely the most fun. After that, okay, you know what? I get it. I'm putting this in explosive rounds tier because I agree. I talked myself into agreeing. I agree. Moving on to the YouTube comments. Yes, you could just leave YouTube comments for your hot takes if you'd like. If you guys want a part 2 of this video, if you make enough hot takes in the comments, there's going to be a part 2. If you don't, then there's not. That's pretty much how it works. Alternatively, let me know what other games you want to hear a hot take video about next time. I've already done RE4 Remake and RE7 and RE8, but let me know what game you guys want next. Next up from Agent Pendergast. 3 Remake isn't bad because it's short, it's bad because it's shallow. Too much of the game is just cutscenes and set pieces with minimal interaction beyond holding forward. The action lacks the depth of action era RE, and the level design and survival gameplay fall far beyond that of classic era RE. And instead of trying to take the best aspects of both types, it just feels like a watered down version of them instead. This is exactly what I was saying with Maya's hot take. The game just doesn't quite hit the vibes of Resident Evil that it needs to on both sides. It works as a remake without some of the sauce of having the B-movie horror and the B-movie action. It just feels like remake with generic action. So on that aspect, I completely get why people don't like the vibe of this game. 100% I get it. They removed some weapons. The grenade launcher is missing a few rounds for like ammo rounds. They removed some weapons. There's barely any extra costumes. Mercenaries mode's not in it. So I get why people say it's shallow, because you literally get the story experience with some challenges to grind. That's it. And on a replay, there's not any hard challenges in this game. At least in the original, you had the horrible clock tower section. Yes, I know that area looks cool, but face facts, that area sucks. If you disagree, you're nostalgia blind. That is the worst area of the whole game. I wouldn't say it lacks the depth of action era RE, because the dodge system has a good learning curve to it. You can dodge most anything in the game once you get the hang of that. The coins do kind of soften that a little bit, I will admit, but I do like the action in this game. Too much of it is scripted, 100% agree. Level design, not enough good puzzles. The original game had okay puzzles. The game has no okay puzzles. They're just boring puzzles. So I agree with this. I am gonna give this a flame rounds tier, because not just because I agree, but because he's not complaining that the remake is short. Him complaining that its shallowness is the problem, that it doesn't quite get everything exactly right, but it has most things in there. 100% correct. I completely agree. Next up from Cordary, RE3 our nemesis. The reason actual stalker is really entertaining and sometimes genuinely surprising when not scripted. He's far from perfect and almost works, if not for the map and his laughable weakness to a single grenade. Side note, nemesis being covered in caution tape is really dumb and such. Yeah. I mean, you're right. One thing I do find funny is when people are like, OG Nemesis was so unpredictable and so scary and so random. He was scripted in the original too. He's just as scripted. He's probably less scripted actually in the remake than he is in the original, as far as like when he spawns and what he does is much less scripted in the remake. I know it doesn't feel like it, but when you're roaming the city, as soon as he spawns from then on, like once he's in his roaming mode, he's not scripted. He has a very complex and cool AI. In the original, he would spawn in and his attacks were kind of predetermined. His AI is a lot more simple. It's still a really complex AI for when the game came out, but just as games get newer, AI gets more complicated and better most of the time, unless you're Halo. So I think this is a pretty hot take. I don't think it's the hottest take in the world, because I hear people say like that new Nemesis, when he is like running around, when the AI is actually working, he is good. I hear that quite a lot. So I'm gonna put this in electric rounds tier. It doesn't go super high because I have heard this before, but it's still a little spicy. Still pretty good. Next up from Disabled Sean, 3R Jill is the best iteration of character IMO. I 100% agree. A lot of people agree with this, but just as many people disagree with this. The amount of hate I hear for 3R Jill is ridiculous. You guys are crazy. I don't understand where you're coming from at all. 3R Jill is awesome. She just is. Nicole Tompkins does a great job. I'm going to put this like right in the middle of the list, either between flame or either between electric and explosive rounds. I'm going to give it to explosive rounds because there's a lot of 3R Jill haters, like a lot. Next up from FDen3891, self-defense items in Resident Evil 2 Remake are way better than the dodge in Resident Evil 3 Remake. Ooh, okay. If we're talking better, like more reliable or like stuff like that, you're right. I think you're right. They're better for noobs, and for pro players, they're easier to exploit. If you know the frame glitch, you know the frame glitch. The dodge is, once you learn the dodge, it's there. It does have a learning curve, but like I said, there's the coins. or not the coins, the stars manual, the freaking stars manual. That makes it a lot easier. So I'm almost tempted to agree with this actually, if we're talking like quality of defense, if we're talking game design, that I don't know. That's a I'm gonna give it to the dodge just because I think it's more satisfying, but the self-defense items are probably hard to balance to not make too many. I think there is too many in 2 Remake. There's like too many knives and too many flashbangs in that game, even on hardcore. So I'm gonna actually put this in flame rounds tier. I hear a lot of people talk about how they like the dodge in 3 Remake, but I don't hear people saying that self-defense items are better. I rarely hear anyone say that. I'm gonna put that in flame rounds tier. I know self-defense items have their fans, so I'm not gonna put it in acid rounds tier, but it's pretty good. Next up from Game Boy 2007 official, I think Nemesis looks better in RE3 Remake than in OG, even if RE3 OG had better graphics. I think what he's saying here is that if both games had the same graphics, he would prefer the remake design over the original, even if they were literally the same graphical fidelity. I get it. I respect it. I can't agree. I can't agree. Original Nemesis with his coat and his rocket launcher and his funny little face. He's terrifying, but he's cool. New Nemesis, he's just gross. He just looks like he smells bad. And he's literally wearing a trash bag. Like, there's another hot take that brought this up, and I didn't mention it because it was in parentheses. But the trash bag look is just so fucking stupid. I don't care if it has a lore reason. It's ugly and it's stupid. I don't like it. Like, just because something has a lore reason doesn't give it an excuse to look stupid. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like, I get what you're saying. This is, I think, one of the hottest takes we've had. I'm gonna put this in acid rounds tier. I hear like maybe like 2 people ever, including this person, say that they like the remake design better. That's crazy talk, but I respect it. You know what? I respect it. Next up from Zudin Yusuf. Original Nemesis is scarier than Remake, and I refuse to believe Jill can wield that railgun and firing it without she herself getting pushed backward from the force firing it. Yeah, I think I mentioned that in my plot armor video. I don't remember. Yeah, I'm gonna plug those again. They take a lot of work. Original Nemesis being scarier than Remake. I agree, because he's actually effective. He actually kills a STARS member in that game, which is beyond me. And fun fact, in the remake, Nemesis, the guy who is built to kill STARS members, does not kill any STARS members. Insane work, Capcom. Great job. So I think original Nemesis is more terrifying just because he actually did his job, at least partially, by tentacling Dread through the head. This is just true. This is just true. As for the railgun thing, I already mentioned that. That is also hilarious. I don't think either of these are hot takes though, so I'm gonna put you in nitrogen rounds tier. I agree with you, but you're mostly just spitting facts, my guy. So I mean, not much more to say really. Next up, from Merlin the Cambion. My hot take is RE3 Remake is an awesome game, and I like it better than RE2 Remake. Everyone seems to hate it, saying it's too short and cuts stuff out of the OG. Wow. It takes the same amount of time to beat as the OG, and everyone loves to complain about the lack of clock tower section. It was the worst part of the original anyway, thank you. Remake has great, satisfying gameplay, amazing graphics, Jill looks beautiful in the game, she's never looked better, IMO, gameplay is super fun, and set pieces, etc. are great. I've played it way more than RE2 Remake. It's less tedious and super fun to run through every now and then. Plus we got Hot Carlos. I don't want to live in cold, cruel, hot Carlos-less world. Thank you. Acid rounds to your take. No, flame rounds. This game does have fans. I'm putting it in flame rounds. I can't hop on it that aggressively. But yeah, I just think he's right. I think he's right. It is a really good game, and then there's gonna be one guy in the comments. There's gonna be that one guy in the comments that's gonna go, yeah, check our game. That's just not a good Resident Evil game. Shut the fuck up. You know what qualifies it as a Resident Evil game? If you look at the box, if you pick up the box and you read the front of the box, right? And if it says Resident Evil on the box, that's what that means. That means it's a Resident Evil game. This happens in the Assassin's Creed fandom all the time as well. It pisses me off. It's like, okay, deal with it, buddy. It's a Resident Evil game. Saying it's a bad Resident Evil game, just say you don't like the game. You're allowed to not like a game. That's fine. But saying it's like bad at being what it is just weird, because it's not. Resident Evil has always been like actiony / horror-y. Sure, it's not quite on top of those elements as other Resident Evil games, but it says Resident Evil on the freaking box. It's a Resident Evil game. Just deal with it. I don't know what else to say. I know that is mostly unrelated to this, but I had to rant about that. That is one of my biggest pet peeves ever, is when people say it's a good X. It's a good game, just not a good X franchise game. It's like, dude, shut up. Anyways, back to this hot take. I'm gonna put this, as I said, in flame rounds tier. Next up, from Red Dead Spartan 31, hot take. Nikolai was a way better villain than Nemesis in the game. 1000% correct, you are right. I think people in the back of their minds agree with this, but nobody says it. Nobody ever says this. People just complain about Nemesis. They never say, Nikolai's better. They just say, Nemesis sucks. And while they're right, they're not quite saying the whole story. Nikolai is the real villain of this game. He's so good. Neil Newbon, you are a national treasure, dude. If you're for some reason watching this video, I want to give you a hug. You did a great job in this game. You did a great job in RE8. You did a great job in Baldur's Gate 3. You do a great job in everything. Anyways, yes, I 100% agree with this, and I never hear anyone say it. I'm going to give this flame rounds. I think people in the back of their brain agree with it. They're just not saying it, so it gets flame rounds here. Moving on to the last hot take of the video from Rusty Cog. All the characters are unlikable and have bad personalities except Carlos. It's just an okay character, nothing exceptional there. The nemesis is unthreatening and a joke. All of what I said is for the remake only. Okay, so you didn't give any reasons. You gave no reasons. It's hard to rebuttal your hot take when you just say what it is without giving any sort of like why you think this, especially when it's something as nebulous and subjective as personalities of people in quotes, they're fictional characters, and then saying except Carlos. So I'm assuming you don't like characters that are like not sarcastic or something like that. I don't like it. This one is hard to respond to, but I wanted to put it in here because I hear this a lot about this game, is that Jill is unlikable, Nikolai is unlikable. It's like, of course Nikolai is unlikable. It's a terrorist for money. You're not supposed to be likable. Like, what? And then as for Jill not being likable, I think she is likable, but she's just not at her nicest because the situation she's in. Okay, think about this. If you're in a situation where your entire city was aflame and there were shambling corpses walking around eating people alive, and there's a giant guy in a trash bag, tentacles and really long teeth chasing after you to try to kill you, and the only person that saves you suspiciously is someone of the same organization that put you through the same thing on a smaller scale at a mansion a couple years ago, from the same company that started that whole mess, you're not going to be on your nicest mood overall. Plus, you're swimming through a sewer, you're falling out of buildings, you slightly catch on fire. You're not gonna be in a good mood either. Why would Jill be in like a super nicey mood? Like, people are like, she's so mean in this game. She's so rude in this game. She's just generally not likable. It's like, I wouldn't be likable in that situation either. I think how much of a level head she keeps in that whole situation makes her more likable to me, because I wouldn't be doing that. I respect her for that, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know why Rusty Cog said he thinks they're unlikable. I'm just assuming based on what I hear other people say makes them unlikable. So Rusty Cog, if you would like to elaborate on this in the comments below, I will respond. I just want to know why. I respect your opinion 100%. I just want to know why. That's it. I just want to know why. You didn't give a reason. I'm not sure where to rank this one. I hear this kind of often. I'll put it in electric rounds here because I hear it semi often, but Remake Jill has her fans. So this either gets electric rounds or explosive rounds. This is going to depend on the reason which one that goes in. I'll let you know if you leave another comment below this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like below and hit the subscribe button to help me along to my goal of 10,000 subscribers. I've also got channel memberships starting at just $1 if you'd like to support me more directly so I can put more time into making all these videos. There's also a link to the Discord in the description if you'd like to get to know the rest of the community. Special shout out to all my members on screen right now, and a very special shout out to my malevolent residents Belladonna and King of Horror. If you would like to make 100% sure that your hot take is in the next hot takes video, become a member. Members are always in the hot takes videos. If they submit a hot take, sometimes they don't because they don't feel like it. Thank you very much for watching, and stay evil, my residents.